Whaling is the practice of hunting whales for various purposes. Some purposes are for meat, oil, and blubber. Their blubber can be converted into soap, and baleen from baleen whales can be used in fashion, but their main use is for meat. The three main countries that do whaling are Japan, Norway, and Iceland. Whale falls are when a dead whale falls to the bottom of the ocean and create a whole new ecosystem. There can be up to 4 stages on this dead whale. The first stage is called the mobile scavenger stage. In this stage, small fish and other animals come and eat most of the meat. The second stage is called the enrichment opportunistic stage. The third stage is called the sulfur loving stage. As the tissue of the whale are being broken down by anaerobic bacteria, some nutrients and elements are released. These nutrients can be a food source for small organisms, which are unique, called chemolitho-autotrophs. The fourth stage and the last stage is called the reef stage. Here, there's no more organic matter, and more or less the only things left are bones, which create a hard substrate for animals to grow on. On whale falls, there are some animals and species that are only found here and nowhere else. Due to increasing amounts of carbon dioxide in the ocean, the pH is dropping, causing it to become more acidic. This is creating inhospitable environments for coral, causing this bleaching effect. The picture to the left shows what coral should look like. To the right, the picture is white, barren, and dead. Humpback whales use the Great Barrier Reef in Australia to calve and fatten up before returning to Antarctica. If levels of carbon dioxide continue to go up, bleaching will continue, and humpback whales will lose vital parts of the ocean to survive. Ocean acidification is the continuous decrease of the pH in the ocean waters. This happens when there is an increase of the amount of carbon dioxide due to the increase in the amount of zooplankton. Phytoplankton are primary producers which take up the CO2 and produce oxygen. The zooplankton consume the phytoplankton, releasing the CO2 back into the water. With more zooplankton in the water and less phytoplankton, CO2 numbers are increasing. This is causing the acidification.
Following a 1982 mandate by the International Whaling Commission, a temporary ban had been placed on commercial whaling due to the declining whale population worldwide. However, the Commission did allow for exceptions to be made for hunting whales as long as it was for scientific research. Citing the treaty they signed, any contracting government may grant to any of its nationals a special permit authorizing the national to kill, take, and treat whales for purposes of scientific research, and shall be exempt from the operation of this convention, Article 8 of the International Whaling Commission Treaty. As we can see by this graph, we notice that whaling had reached its peak around 1915. This time is long after the Industrial Revolution, where carbon emissions had been steadily rising. Coupled with whale hunting, we can see how these factors contribute to ocean acidity because of the increase in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. This graph also indicates that Japan, Norway, and Iceland are the countries that have whaled the most in the past. However, to this day, their actions continue to persist. These countries exploit the scientific whaling exception with impunity and explicitly prepare signs to defend their taking advantage of the International Whaling Commission. While skeptics may argue that their whaling is legitimate and their signs are to offer clarity for justifiable actions, it does seem unusual, however, for scientific whaling research to have climbed dramatically following the ban on commercial whaling in Japan as it has. it is more than likely that countries like Norway and Japan are profiting off of these tactics. So what can we do about this situation? Whaling is a practice that's lasted for centuries, perhaps even millennia, and has integrated itself into various cultures and traditional peoples of many nations. It's not very easy to just pass a law and have everybody change their opinion on whaling, especially when it's part of their culture and even part of their diet. But we think that the first step is to always educate someone else about it, and that's the path we chose to go for when doing our community response. There are definitely plenty of alternatives available instead of hunting an actual whale. Hunting definitely removes the whale from the environment and is going to be hazardous not only to the marine life that depend on the whales there, but also for our results. It's really hard to get accurate results from dead samples. Instead, we suggest that people provide and follow these alternatives, such as scat analysis, biopsy sampling, and even photographs. There are plenty of other alternatives available as well, but the main idea is that hunting and killing the whale should be used as an absolute last resort, and not something to go for immediately. For our community action, we wanted to send a US representative, our commissioner for the International Whaling Commission, our own suggested law to help regulate this unwarranted scientific whaling, so to speak. We suggested a system where scientific whaling is regulated by an international committee instead of on an individual country basis, and we have even written our own law for this. We included the law in our letter to the International Whaling Commission, but essentially we based most of it off the red tag law in Pennsylvania. The red tag law allows locals to hunt deer that are threatening their agriculture, but their big connection is really how the deers are preserved. So once the deer is hunted, the body is sent by the local government there, and they ensure that the deer is not being used for commercial purposes, like selling it for meat or eating it themselves or anything like that. And in that sense, the farmers get to protect their agriculture, and the government get the deer body. If there's going to be such a thing as scientific whaling, we want to make sure that the research is absolutely valid and that the carcasses are preserved and brought to the International Commission instead of handled by an individual country basis, because we may not have an idea what is actually being done to that whale, and that would violate the treaty. So essentially, we want to have this community action introduce this law to make sure and remedy this situation so that countries aren't abusing scientific whaling to commercially whale. Change.org is a great platform for us to launch our laws from and our ideas from. We know it's very hard to change laws or any sort of treaty by yourself. It takes a really consolidated group effort, and we needed the support of you and everyone you know together to start making waves in our oceans. We need people to help sign our petition so that our commissioner can be aware and give their input to the IWC. We want them to know that this whaling should not go unregulated, and we want them to be able to change that and work together to solve a solution. So we're asking you to please sign a petition on change.org under the title below, Impose Stricter Regulations on Scientific Whaling. The link will also be provided. We'd really appreciate if you feel so inclined to sign the petition so we can help spread the word of this travesty. Thank you all for taking the time to watch and listen to this video. We really appreciate it. We'd also appreciate if you did take the time to check out our petition and decide if you want to sign it or not. We'd appreciate the support. Thank you all, and have a great day.